panel on which we have, practically all the three components of what the platform play would look like. We have a banker, we have a B2C fintech, which is looking at consumer journeys, and we also have a enabler that kind of brings it, brings the bank and the fintech together. So we have Tarun from Neokred, who's kind of doing that.
So the problem that we are solving is, if you look at teenagers, if you look at all the fintech products out there or any financial product out there, most of them are built from an adult's perspective, right? Majority of them are targeting adults. There might be a few solutions that are meant for minors, but we feel that nobody has been still able to scale those products or actually like create suitable products for that market. There are a lot of gaps due to which teenagers don't really open a bank account until and unless they turn 18. 40% of India's population today is below 18. It's
Right.
like close to half a billion minors in India. And when we are speaking about those half a billion users on the internet or building something for them, like we often forget that majority of them are minors and nobody's building for them, right? So it's very clear that every year millions of kids will get their first smartphone, millions of kids will start using the internet, millions of kids who already understand technology will get much more independence to use it. So yeah, that's our that's where we started with. We started with let's why not build banking for teenagers, because it just makes sense. Well, kids are getting access to technology early and early on, and they're the most tech savvy audience to rely on mobile apps rather than going physically to a branch or doing something. So that is what we started with, and we have just started with a payments product today with Fampay. Kids can get access to their own card. They can start making their online and offline payments independently.
Coming from a background of vast experience in B2B as well as B2C, with being an ex-Happy and MSS Payments, where we understood banking instruments and served a lot of clients as well as the customer on the B2B2C level over there. That's when we realized, like me and Rohit realized, the API infrastructure in terms of facilitating that to a client, and also having a challenge for the client to understand those APIs integrated into their respective systems and then go live in the banking with the banking instrument for their customers. So a plug and play model is what we facilitate these in the API format as well as in the SDK formats for those user journeys. Now that being said, there's a lot of cost savings for the customers as well as for the merchants who onboard these APIs onto their platform and enhance the user experience for their existing users over here. So, in the nutshell, we are enabling those APIs in a plug and play manner so that they can have a TAT of go live within a month's time.
Reasonably new to HDFC Bank, just joined about 6-7 years back. But in terms of my belief in platform as a strategy, high amount of belief. Previous experience being in RBL Bank as well, where we had done a lot of work on Partners the Bank. So as I see it, banks play a big role in this ecosystem, right? If you look at the layering of banking as a platform, I would say you have the lowest layer being the license, and then you have say your products, the risk and compliance, AML, KYC, and then you have the topmost layer, which is actually the channel experience that people provide, right? Now, I believe that banks play a very key role because we hold the license and the trust. Okay. Um, and we've heard quite a bit about the fact that, yeah, banking has been difficult. People, it takes the amount of layers of security slash paperwork, all of that gets put on top of enabling banking for any profile of user has been considered to be onerous. But I think as we move along, innovation will happen on both sides. Banks will innovate, fintechs will innovate, and somewhere we will all converge at a point of, ease for consumers. I think all of us are trying to capture the imagination of the consumer, right? So all of us will, funnel in there. That's and I think the concept of banking as a platform or APIfication, so that you are able to offer products across the board, across channels, across distribution frameworks, is I think what is so exciting about this topic, I would say.
Cooperation is the name of the word, I
Yes.
guess. Uh, if I can, switch gears and Tarun, if you can actually sort of talk about how Neocred is sort of using data or helping, your corporates to deliver better or more relevant services. It'll be useful if you can kind of give like an example of something that you have done. If you have the liberty to sort of talk about it, it'll be good to understand because not a lot of people understand the role API platforms do today, because you're neither facing a consumer, so you actually become the Intel inside in some ways. So how are you going about doing it? It'll be useful for people to understand. For a young kid, the whole notion of trust and bank may not be. I have a teenager at home, so he probably may not know the difference between a large bank and a small bank, right? What role does a brand like Fampay would play in their life? And do parents come back and ask you, "Can I trust you?" Right? So is that something that you're faced? And how do you, as a fintech, handle this element of trust? And at what stage would you actually talk about this partnership with the bank as well with your users? Sujatha, if I can come to you, there is this whole aspect of account aggregator that is just about
Playing out.
coming out. So how do you expect, or how do you prepare yourself for what is likely to sort of going to be like, as it's commonly referred to as the UPI 2.0 or whatever, right? Do you see like a gradual shift, because this is a lot more nuanced in terms of the execution, because you have to have an ecosystem of users who have to come in, or you see a traditional model. Let's say if there's somebody who is building a lending product on top of account aggregator, uh, drop all of the things that I'm already doing and probably focus on this. Do you see this shaping over time? Because there are aspects that are not as binary as in the case of UPI itself.
Fortunately for us, we haven't seen a time where probably 4 5 years before how people would have had struggled with the banks to just get an idea through or get something started in terms of even their tech stack being ready to integrate something. Probably the work of the uh, founders from before have helped us in terms
A
of
lot of heavy lifting done by Madhu and team, I guess.
yes, I think thanks to people like Madhu and a few of the founders who have worked constantly with banks on improving those things so that we can be faster. When we were in college, we were constantly worried on like, अभी हमें कोई experience नहीं है. We are just kids and we are building for the kids. Like, will the bank even listen to us? What will be their perspective and all? But yeah, like I think in the first 3 4 months of starting up, like it was at least possible to even get through a meeting to all the banks and they were happy to listen to our ideas, and that was in itself very surprising for us that okay, we don't have any experience in fintech but the banks were happy to listen to our pitch and understand our idea, uh, and yeah, banks were also happy to even move ahead and do this together. There are a bunch of banks which agreed. It was just because of some tech stack and speed for which we decided to go with the bank we are currently with. So yeah, I think banks are being a lot more progressive to what I've heard, at least from founders from the earlier days, and it's only going to get better.
Absolutely,
That's all I feel.
absolutely.
I mean, 1.5 years back, it was like here is your APIs, integrate them, extend it, and become a BC correspondent over here. So as and when we worked with the bank, it's like then the product managers, the risk, and the legal guys also to make sure the compliance is placed. We made sure the APIs were designed as per the target audience over there. So now when we say about curating the APIs and making sure that it is facilitated to that corporates customers, that's where the experience in terms of technology comes into play. Yes, it took a while for them to facilitate this thought process in place and have all the what do you say stages of approvals that was required to do any tweak in their existing platform. they are very open to facilitating these financial instruments to these corporates, and they are very open as compared to what I've seen 2 years back.
Sambhav, Tarun, I mean, it's a great session. It was very insightful, and I'm sure, the audience would have found it equally insightful.